Hi, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Tuesday, January 19th. News today in Arkansas. Governor Asa Hutchinson is holding a news conference as we're recording this and talking about what he's decided to propose to the legislature about paying for additional highway construction and maintenance. It's a plan that he says will raise $750 million over the next 10 years, an average of about $75 million a year, and that would qualify for the state for some $2 billion in federal matching money. He says he can do it without any tax increases. He can do it by diverting money that now goes to a variety of other general revenue purposes and taking it to highways instead. He says he can pay for this with efficiencies and budget changes. In other words, unless revenue grows, some general revenue funded agencies are going to feel the pressure of transferring money to highways. The money is going to come particularly from two big places that are new. One is over a 5-year period, they're going to phase in transfers from sales tax revenue on cars and trucks that used to go to general revenues. Up to $25 million will now go to highways. He's also going to give a quarter of any unallocated surplus every year, the so-called GIF money, General Improvement Fund money. That in the future will be dedicated to highways when it exists. This is some money that may or may not be present. There is some now that's going to help pay for the first year funding. This is significant for two reasons. Number one, the move to general revenue, where we've not used that for highways before. We've used user taxes and special fees related to cars and trucks. And the other is the governor seems to be saying that he's going to preserve the surplus spending formula by which legislators get to carve up some of this money for local pork barrel projects. There's a possibility a lawsuit's going to be filed about that practice, but he's worked out a deal with legislators to say that he gets to keep a quarter of it for highways, which truly is a statewide purpose and something that certainly the surplus can be used for. It just can't be counted on. Elsewhere in Arkansas today, the Attorney General of Arkansas said she's not at all sorry, but she lost her attempt to get the United States Supreme Court to hear her appeal of lower court rulings that invalidated a ban on abortion in Arkansas after the 12th week of pregnancy. This was a non-starter from the beginning. The Supreme Court has said over and over again that you can't ban abortion before the age of viability of the fetus, which is around 21, 22 weeks or thereabouts. 12 weeks was way too early. This was going to be a loser, and the Supreme Court denied the Arkansas's appeal without comment. When it's over, the state will have spent more than $100,000 on the plaintiff's attorney's fees, not to mention uncounted amounts of money in defending the unconstitutional law that was sponsored by Jason Rapert. The law does continue to remain in effect insofar as requiring a heartbeat monitoring test for all women who go to seek an abortion. Elsewhere today, there was an interesting lawsuit filed in federal court by the Seventhday Adventist Church and a couple of members against the city of Whitehall, which has an ordinance that prohibits door-to-door solicitations without a permit. They've applied this to church members who merely want to go from door to door and talk about their religion. This would seem to be a clear violation of First Amendment restrictions on free speech and religion. We'll find out in federal court if they agree with that point of view. Interesting news release today, too, from a national nonprofit group, a small one that doesn't like loud noise, leaf blowers, loud cars, loud motorcycles. It's issued a noise award to the former Fayetteville police chief and the current Fayetteville police chief for encouraging and issuing no citations for violations of the noise ordinance in the big bikers, blues, and barbecue rally that attracts hundreds of thousands of people to Fayetteville every year. Many of them riding big motorcycles have been altered to sound even louder than they normally would. Depending on how you feel about noise, you might like this, or maybe you won't. The police chiefs say that this is just good for the community. That's money when you hear those rumbling, not anything else bad. I'd urge you to take a look at arkansasblog.com today and read Ernest Dumas, who was inspired by New York Times columnist Republican David Brooks about the Donald Trump phenomenon and the danger he poses to the Republican Party, the nation, if he's elected. Ernie Dumas says it's just time to get used to liking Donald Trump. He's a showman, and he's what people are looking for these days, maybe the reincarnation of Ronald Reagan, Ernie Dumas says. And finally, here's a note of minor interest. Yesterday on Jeopardy, the final Jeopardy answer produced an unheard of outcome. All three contestants got it wrong. They all bet everything they had. They all ended up with zero. They were all losers. Well, here was the question. A 1957 event led to the creation of a National Historic Site in this capital city. The law was signed by a president whose library is now there too. Making sure your answer is in the form of a question. See if you can answer that one for me. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm Max Brantley.